What is up, everybody? Welcome to a special St. Patrick's Day edition of NBA Rundown. When you're an A's fan, you're always ready for St. Patrick's Day. I had plenty of stuff in the closet, JSU, to go ahead and get in the feeling for the holiday. And the NBA is loving the holiday too with the jam-packed slate we got. So, I think you and I are going to have plenty to talk about today. How you doing today? How'd your lineups turn out?
Yeah, doing pretty good. Lineups yesterday, a little rough. I had a lot of SGA, but
Oh
the
yeah.
ones the few lineups that didn't have SGA did pretty well. I had a few up there in the FanDuel $3 tournament that came close. Came close. I was high on Lonzo Ball. He was a sneaky play I really liked.
Mm-hmm.
He did pretty well. Obviously, Dame crushed. So if you had like a pairing like that, you were probably high up there. So. Yeah, it was a decent night. So hopefully we run it back and can get over the line here and get a really good night going.
Yeah, I was going over all my lineups at the end of the night, and I should have been a little more equal with Dame and Trey. I was way too heavy on Trey, so I'm still learning all these things, especially as you balance the lineups out. I heard you guys talking about the optimizer last night on the show, so definitely still learning a lot, but having fun. But at the same time, we're cashing bets on the bet side, right? I mean, we were on the right side there with the Knicks. We had the under, we had the over in the Portland game, so. It's kind of fun. We're picking these games, giving me a little money to play with as I learn the ropes of the daily fantasy. So let's jump right in. The first game we have is the Brooklyn Nets, who are now 27-13, pretty impressive. 21-19 against the spread, going against the Pacers and newly returned ex-net Karis LeVert. Pacers are now 17-21, 15-23 against the spread. Brooklyn's only -3 here. I kind of like Brooklyn, but I haven't placed a bet yet. Definitely wanted to talk to you. So here's my concerns. Obviously, the Karis LeVert revenge game. I'm sure that's going to be all over for DFS tonight as well. So that's whatever, right? I'm really more concerned about how Brooklyn stops the bigger centers and big men of the Pacers, as in Sabonis and Turner. I can see them having really big nights. DeAndre Jordan and Claxton are going to have their work cut out for them. Still, I like Brooklyn here, and I'm worried that I'm overthinking it. What do you think? Should I go ahead and place this bet on Brooklyn, or am I right to be a little wary of these big men?
You know, this is a tough game because I come in and I'm looking at this game. You said it was three now. I saw it. Did it open at four or something like that? Move to three. Where did it
Let me
open
see
at?
where it opened at. It
Because
was
yeah.
it opened at 3.5 for me on bookmakers
Okay.
4 hours ago. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, this game when I looked at it this morning, I was kind of leaning the Pacers, and one of the reasons was the bigs. You kind of called it. I mean, forget about the revenge game for a second because yeah, I mean, when you go against your old team and you know all those guys over there, you were literally in the locker room with them like what a month ago, like
Right.
hanging out with them, joking around. Yeah, I'm sure you want to give it to your old team, but the Nets, I mean, these are two bigs that the Nets have really struggled against bigs. Bigs have done really well against them, and Sabonis and Turner, like that's what worries me a lot about this game. So I'm kind of going back and forth because I can get where you're like, yeah, I'll just take the Nets, and man, I feel like they're that team that you look and it's a tie game in the third quarter, and then all of a sudden 4 minutes later they're up 15, and you're like, oh, they're gonna end up beating this team by 30, and then fourth quarter happens and they just take their foot off the gas and boom, the team's back in. Look at what the Knicks did. I mean, the Knicks should have lost that game by 30. Like no lie. Like if you watch that game, the Knicks had no business bringing that game back. But what happened? They just got careless with the basketball. The Nets did, and then all of a sudden, the Knicks hit a few shots and they're back in that game. Like that should never happen. And then you get a team like the Pacers who have two, like really the weakness of the Nets, which is you want to have like dominant bigs. A guy like Sabonis is definitely going to be a weakness for the Nets. And then Turner, like the combo of those two inside and out, they're going to give problems. And then the other thing we've got going is Malcolm Brogdon has been playing better of late. I wrote this up. He's had 20 or more points in 4 of his last 5 games. he's definitely been scoring the ball a lot better for this team. So on top of that, they've got Levert, there and playing. And has he shown like monster upside yet? No, I'm sure he's still fitting in, and chemistry wise, it's a little different, right? Being with guys like Sabonis and Turner and Brogdon. So it's a little different dynamic he's got to get used to. But all in all, I kind of lean the Pacers here. And maybe
Okay.
that's a contrarian take. I don't know. But I think the Pacers have a good shot to take this game. Like I said, they have a mismatch that look at what happened when Jeff Green was out, too. That's another thing we did with the Knicks game. Jeff Green went out in the third quarter. They were putting Harden on Randall. People were like, Randall's crushing. I'm like, yeah, because Harden's playing him one-on-one on the post. I mean, God forbid they try that with Sabonis. Sabonis will eat him alive. Like, they can't. I mean, they can do that, I guess, but I don't know how you would do it after what you saw with Randall, because he was carving him up down low at the end of that game. And I think losing Jeff Green was a big thing to that. Now, he should be
I don't even
healthy.
see him on the injury report for today, though.
Well, no, he's not. He should be healthy to go. That's what
Mhm.
they're looking at. But I'm just saying, when he went out of that game, that was like the turning point. He had a little back issue. He went out of that game, and that's when the game started to turn the other way. So I'm just saying, like, the Nets lose one of these bigs, and they could be screwed.
Well, yeah, I mean, I definitely admit that I am on the square side here, right? I'm just taking the big names and the team that's running here. You're probably on the sharper side here, and the market agrees with you. And I'll tell you what, I respect the early market moves a lot more than I do the late moves. So the overnights, I actually put a lot of stock in, right? But the late moves, so like when I'm hanging out watching the show with you guys and I see a line move, I'm not really as worried about it if it's not information based because I feel that's more of the gamble style money. The guys that they get off work and they just want to drink a beer and have a game, and they're just throwing some money in and taking the favorite a lot of the time. So, yeah, I,
Yep.
I I do understand where you're coming from. Just to give a little more on my net square side though, Pacers 7-11 at home this season. They're 6-12 against the spread at home. They're 1-8 against the spread in their last 9 games. The Nets have won 13 of their last 14. So, I do like to watch tennis and caps and tennis. And in tennis, we go off form a lot. And so just, I guess my final argument on the game for my side would just be that I'm getting the team pretty much in the best form that they can show without Durant. And they are so explosive that like you said, they can blow that lead. In the same way, if it's a close game going into the fourth, it can also go from a 3-point game where you're covering the whole time and the Nets win by like 10 or 12 just because of the
What
ability to score towards the end of the game.
One other prop I just saw at 19 and a half points for Sabonis right now. It's sitting at. I kind of like the over on that. We hit yesterday.
Why
I
is it
gave
so
out
low?
the.
What is he averaging this year?
Well, I mean, he's had a few down games just because. Remember, this guy, he's coming off 3 out of his last 4 games. He's had 10 assists. Like, he's been distributing a little bit more. But his last 3 for 19 and a half, he's had 20 and 22. He had 10 his last game against Denver, which you can argue Denver, with Jokic, a little tougher, I guess. But
Yeah, not
I mean,
really.
I just
I
feel
don't
like
think
that's
Denver's
low.
good in the
I feel
middle
like
with
that's
defense
low.
either. Yeah.
Yeah, not as a defensive. I just mean down low when you got to handle Jokic, and
Yeah,
it's
good
a
point.
little
All right.
tougher. But I mean, that's just low, right? Brooklyn 19 and a half. I mean, this is a really good spot for a big like Sabonis. And yeah, he could end up with that stat line where it's like, you know, 18, 10 and 10 where he's got like the triple double, but still I like my chances over 19 and a half.
All right. Yeah, I think I like that prop too because, like I said, what you're mentioning is the main reason why I don't have a bet place yet because it's just matchup wise, and we kind of talked about a little bit last night, situation versus matchup, and that was in the Clippers Dallas games, right? I thought the situation was so much better for Dallas, and obviously the Clippers came in showing bad form, but just the matchup is so good because they have the separate wings, and we'll be talking this one a little later, right? But separate wings to put on Doncic, I think, is just so important here. So you guys got me hooked on this DFS stuff. I'm looking through right now. because of the relative health of both teams, have you crossed this game off, or are we still looking for it? And like, is Harden or Kyrie worth the spend up here?
No, I don't think you want to cross this game off, especially on certain sites where guys are mispriced. Karis LeVert on FanDuel is just, he's again a free square. He's 4-4 at a shooting guard position. I mean, I don't know how you don't play Karis LeVert on FanDuel. Like, yeah, you just, I feel like you have to play him. Like, I don't understand what they're doing. I mean, they do it all the time though, so it's whatever. I think he's just a really good play. Brogdon 7K on FanDuel, 7 I think 0.2 on DraftKings.
Yeah,
I think
seven
that's
two.
a decent price. I talked about Sabonis. I like Sabonis here. I don't know. I don't know how you don't look the way of some of these Pacers guys. And then if you play multiple Pacers, it would make sense to bring it back with a James Harden or a Kyrie Irving. I prefer James Harden.
Yeah.
Little more of a tough matchup, I would say, against, they do defend guards pretty well, the Pacers, at times. They can force the ball out of their hand. They're pretty good at that. At times they do it. So I wouldn't be shocked if they tried to force the ball out of Harden's hands and make someone else make plays. Because really, when the Nets are rolling, it's James Harden making plays for others. And Kyrie makes plays for himself. Like, that's his game, right? And he's amazing at it. Like, he's one of the best one-on-one players in the league. He's great. But the way their offense runs, it's James Harden. So, like, if I'm forcing the ball out of anyone's hands, it's going to be his, and I'm going to force other guys. I mean, if Kyrie drops 50 on you or 40, then he drops 40 on you. Like, I rather that, honestly, than letting James Harden just dribble around, make plays, pass it to wide open three-point shooters, lob it up to dunkers. Like, let Kyrie do that. Like, there's a reason why they don't let Kyrie do it. Let him do it.
Yeah, so those are some fantastic points, and we do know how these lineup builds evolve during the day, right? As we get the news
Well,
going
yeah,
in and out.
because value is going to open up paying up for Sabonis and Harden,
Right.
right? But it's a 10-game slate. We've already got all of these Houston guys out that we'll talk about later. So I think we're going to be able to find value pretty easily here.
Which is awesome for me, because then it's easier for me to handicap the stars rather than, I said it before yesterday, where you guys really, make your money and separate yourselves is being able to evaluate the lower tier players. I think most people that handicap the NBA, just from a betting side, can do a pretty good job of choosing which stars they want on the night. You just need to fill out the lineup properly, and the
I
value
do
is where it's
think
at.
I do think too. Sylvester Payne in the chat, he says TJ McConnell is cheap too on FanDuel. I do think TJ McConnell is very interesting. The minutes have gone down, obviously, with LeVert a little bit, but at the same time, this is a perfect matchup for them to play a guy like TJ McConnell a little bit more, right? The Nets play small a lot. They could match that, right? They could move Sabonis to the 5, which they've done before, and they could try and match that and play small with them. And if they do that, a guy like TJ McConnell could directly benefit, and the Nets are a perfect matchup for a guy like him. So I don't mind that call. That's a large field play on FanDuel where, like, you're playing that $3 100K up top. I don't mind taking a shot with the TJ McConnell.
How many points total is going to be huge on whether or not we really want to stack the game. I'm seeing a 234.5 right now. Seems about right to me because of the differences in pace. Of course, with it, since it's a Nets game, I just automatically lean over, but I didn't have a
Yeah.
play. Do you think this goes over? Because if we think it's going over, I think that we're more likely to try and put some of these people in our lineups.
I do think the game goes over.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I like the over here.
All right. Well, we agree on that. We're opposite on the sides, and let's move on and see what else we can find. Let's talk about my hometown team, the Sacramento Kings, 15-24, 15-23 against the spread, heading to Washington to take on the Wizards, 14-24, 19-19 against the spread. They were catching a lot of points earlier. Now it seems to have leveled out. I talked about form earlier. Now we have two teams that are in bad form, right? Washington looked great. They looked like they were making that push once Westbrook got healthy, but they've lost 6 of their last 7 games. I think the Kings are what 1-6 as well. I mean, the Kings have been losing a lot too. I had the Kings on Monday night against Charlotte. I'll be honest, I was lucky to win that, but I'll take cash because I've taken plenty of bad beats as well. And the Wizards are coming off the terrible loss to Milwaukee. They lost by 11. It was 8. It was a back-to-back. They covered the first one, but they were not able to cover the second. Both the games went over, which isn't a surprise. I kind of like Washington here, and I was gonna initially I circled this as over, right? But so did the books. They put the total at 248. 248. Isn't that wild, JSU? I mean, I wanted to play the over in this, but they might have made it a little too high. What are you thinking? And I mean, if it's 248, we got to have some of these guys in the lineups, right?
Yeah, I mean, so this is the DFS game that everyone's going to want a piece of. I mean, 248, like the total is 248.
Yeah.
And one of the best things about this game is if you just take it from the Kings side, they lost Marvin Bagley, and that was the guy who they played a little with Holmes, but they really took Holmes out and played Bagley at the 5, and they kept doing that because they wanted to play small a lot of the game with Barnes at the 4 or Bielitz at the 4 with Halliburton in the game more, and his minutes are starting to go up. And we're getting him at a down price now because Halliburton was out for a while, and then he had a couple games where I think his minutes they were slowly ticking. Yep. Yeah, they were slowly bringing him up, right? And last game we saw 28, and Bagley played a little, but then had to go out of last game with the injury. I think, in the second quarter or something like that. So he didn't play that much, but he did play a little bit, and he ended up seeing 28 minutes. Now we're going to take him off the floor. I think that just moves, Barnes up to the 4. He's going to play more 4. It's going to move Halliburton up. I think he plays in the 30s. I think we finally get his minutes in the 30s, which is good at his price tag. So all these guys for the Kings, they're in like this range that is just such a good range. This for DFS, anyways, the 6K, 5 to 6K range. It's going to make it really good for stacking purposes. The only guy they have that's over that range is De'Aaron Fox at 9K or 9.2K, and it's just going to make it good for us in DFS. And then what's really good is for the Wizards, you go on the other side. The Kings are one of the worst teams at guarding the guard position. Point guards, shooting guards, they are terrible at guarding the perimeter. And who are the best players for the Wizards? Well, they're Russell Westbrook and Bradley Beal. I mean, it couldn't be a better spot for both sides, right? Both teams struggle against bigs as well. I think Rashawn Holmes could absolutely eat up on the other side. So I like this. I love this game. Like I don't know how I don't have pieces of this game in DFS. The total though, 248. I mean, spread. You're an over guy with these monster totals. With these high pace, it's too high, right? It's too friggin' high. I couldn't. Maybe you just stay away if you're that worried. But I'm wondering, are you on the under just because of how high it is?
I personally did not bet the under, but there's no way I could bet the over here, and I'll be circling it all day. I wanted to talk to you about it first. Now that you agree, I'm a little more excited to get on the under. I mean, the thing is, though, these teams could easily put up like 270 or 280.
I'm not saying that it couldn't go over. I'm saying that I just feel like you can't bet the over. I don't know. Maybe it's wrong. Maybe people are going to look at me and say that's stupid. This game's going over, and like what? Okay, I mean, yeah, could it be 127, 120? Yeah, of course it could. It could end up being in the 120s where this game ends, and if that's the case, it's probably going to go over, right? But I don't know. Like
it's just so hard to bet. If there's one bad shooting stretch from both teams, you're not going over, right? If there's a little 4-minute lull, so I'm leaning towards the under here.
It's awesome though, because from a fantasy side, we get the guy who is negatively affecting Holmes. He's out, so now we just have Holmes, and his minutes, as long as he's not in foul trouble, are pretty stable. They're not going anywhere. I think he's the preferred guy. Yeah, and he's 6,700.
I kind of like if you want to do the stars and scrubs. I like Bielitsa here at 3,700. So just to
Well,
give you a
that's the
little
other
back,
thing. Does he start? That's the question. I think we don't know.
I don't think he will.
They could
So
start Barnes at the 4 and start Halliburton, but maybe they want Halliburton off the bench. I think it could go either way. I honestly
yeah,
think it could go
my
either
guess is
way.
they move Halliburton in the starting lineup. So Bielika and Luke are not getting along that well, and there was a stretch there in early January. I mean, late January, early February, where Bielitsa didn't play at all. Right? Supposedly he had asked not to play, and he was mad at Luke. It's not going over very well here in Sacramento. So it obviously like got out and everything. So that's the only thing that's really keeping me from rostering him like heavy in like a majority of my
They
lineups is the
they
fact
just
that I
don't
know Luke doesn't
have
like each other.
they just don't have anyone else though. You know what I mean? Like he's gonna have to play some.
Well, and
Like
the
I
funny
don't see
thing is,
how it.
if I was making a lineup and I said you need to win this game tonight, I would rather have Bielitsa in there than Bagley. Like Bagley's awesome on offense and everything, but Bielitsa is just a more well-rounded player, and he's not like the best defensively, but he doesn't just make those
I
terrible
think
errors
I
that
think the
Bagley
one
does.
thing you can say about Bielitsa is with Holmes kind of manning the paint, right? The
Yeah,
inside. He's not really a post up guy, but he can do the pick and roll and he can man the paint, get offensive rebounds. Whereas Bagley, he likes the post up. He'll go
yeah,
inside out, but Bielitsa is like an outside guy, right?
yeah. He's a
Like he
true stretch
wants,
four. Yeah,
yeah. So I think it fits better with the team stylistically. They can run the pick and roll. De'Aaron Fox can make the plays. He can get the ball to shooters. He can, give that little bounce pass, and he can do that push shot from Holmes. So I think it's just better team wise. It fits better. I don't think Bagley fits, and
yeah.
and one of the reasons why maybe he's not getting the minutes. I also think they just want to play small. I think who it
Well,
mainly benefits is Harrison Barnes. I think Harrison. I like playing Harrison
but
Barnes
Harrison
when he
Barnes can't
gets.
get any more minutes. He was already getting 36, 38,
Yeah, but
right?
here's the difference. I like Harrison Barnes if he's getting a ton of minutes at the 4. Like if they
That's fair.
start Harrison Barnes at the 4, I like him a lot more. I just think he's better in that role because then he gets the post ups. The post ups that Bagley was getting, even if it's only, Bagley was only seeing 23 minutes. I'm not saying that Barnes is going to get many more minutes because he's already seeing like 35 to 38 minutes a game.
Yeah.
They can't give him many more, but I'm saying the opportunity that he will get on the block, he will get more opportunity on the block because say what you want about Bagley, they do give him the ball down low at times. They do let him go one-on-one at times. They did it in the beginning of that game before he got hurt. He
Yeah,
was
he wasn't
balling.
playing bad. He wasn't playing
Yeah,
bad.
he was balling. He had like 10 or 12 points really fast.
Yeah.
Before he got injured. So I don't know. I think this game though is an absolute smash spot for DFS. From a betting side, what do we got? A 3-point spread here still? Is that
So
3?
it opened it at -3. Kings have taken a little money. It's -2.5. I lean the
Okay.
Wizards here, but I didn't fire yet, just because the Wizards are so bad. I almost think that the Kings lineup is better, right? But they're in the middle of this road trip. They're not playing that well, but I don't know.
Yeah,
So
it's
I
tough
stayed
to
away.
side with the Wizards, but at the same time, it's close enough. Uh, it's a really close game. I think I would lean the Wizards just because the two studs that they have, man, the Kings. I don't think they have an answer for either of those guys. Like they're not going to be able to guard them, and I think that it just makes it such a good matchup for the Wizards offensively. I don't see how the Kings stop those two guards.
If you could only spend up for one, would you spend up for Beal or Westbrook?
I mean, I think Westbrook's probably going to be the more popular play. I
Hmm.
think Beal could end up being the lower owned of the two. So for tournaments, I don't mind just going Beal. But honestly, in this game, you might be able to play both. And that's a strategy that, normally with the Wizards, I'd pick one. That's a strategy I've used with the Brooklyn Nets a good amount when they're down one of the big three guys. So
Yeah.
like I'll play Harden and Kyrie in a lineup because most people will pick one. I think if we get enough good value on the slate, you could honestly justify playing both these guys and just run the game stack with both of them. Because like I said, most people will play one and then play multiple kings on the other side. So to be
Yeah. So you
different,
think Beal Fox will be the more popular build?
I think, well, I don't know. I mean, maybe it's, I don't think it's Fox. I think the mid tier gets more attacked. Rashawn Holmes
Okay.
is coming off like a 60-point game or whatever
Yeah,
it
he
was.
was fire last night
He's
or
going to be
night before.
somewhat popular, I think.
He should be. Yeah.
Yeah, Buddy Hield's been on fire from three lately. Like, I mean, he should get some ownership. They're good plays though. Like these Kings are really good plays. I do think Westbrook ends up being higher on the Beal though.
All right. Well, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a lot of players from this game in the winning lineup, the one that's shipping all the cash. So let's jump on though and see if we can find any good plays in these next games. We have so many. Milwaukee Bucks 25-14, 18-20 against the spread, going against the Philadelphia 76ers. 28-12, 22-16 against the spread. Obviously, the story here: no Joel Embiid. The Bucks have won 4 straight, 9 of their last 10. Sixers are 1-6 ATS on back-to-backs most recently. So now we have Giannis versus baby Giannis. I think that the Sixers are going to work without Embiid. Simmons has got to channel his inner Giannis and start taking over on that 5-out style offense. They're catching 5.5. What do you think? Do you think Milwaukee runs away with here? I hate to be square, but I kind of lean the Bucks here. I think they run away with it.
Yeah, where's man going at? Philly's backer right here. What did I tell you? All right, Knicks, they covered. Easy.
Yeah.
Could have won that game too. Whatever. So
They probably should have. That was a rough loss
yeah,
for Knicks
well,
fans, for Joey Work and those guys. Yeah.
yeah, definitely. Two rough losses. Honestly, they had that game in Brooklyn. I thought that game they could have swung it their way. So man, I feel like the Sixers. I can't wait. Like Sixers have been so good this year, but I can't wait for like the playoffs where they just don't end up going anywhere. I'm really excited. I think Philly is more fraudulent, especially outside of Embiid. The rest of their team, people think these guys are so good. They're not as good as you think, and you'll see it come playoff time when everything ramps up. Defense ramps up, everything. Like if they don't have Embiid, they're screwed. Like it's absolutely screwed. Those guys cannot carry a team by themselves. I'm talking Simmons. I'm talking Tobias Harris. They just can't do it. So now you're coming on a back-to-back against the Bucks. Bucks have been playing pretty well. Giannis is playing really well of late. I kind of lean with you that I feel like this game off the back-to-back could end up being a blowout. And if I have to lean one way, I think I lean the Bucks, even with the 7 number. I just don't like Philly. I don't think they're as good without him. Well, I mean, clearly they're not as good without Embiid, but I mean, I think people just overrate who they have, and maybe that's because of my dislike for a guy like Ben Simmons, but that's just the way it is.
All right, JSU, not a big fan of Ben Simmons. So let's talk about
That's no secret. Everyone should know that by now.
well, and you're not really necessarily taking a stand. He definitely is one of the more polarizing guys on NBA Twitter. And
it has nothing to do with what he says or what he does. It's just
I'm just talking about the fact that he hasn't really developed like a jump shot, and so a lot of people just keep going at him. Like, okay, like it's cool that you can do all this defensive stuff and get to the rim, but you're never going to be able to get a championship because at the end of these games, when you get the wins, you have to convert in the half court.
He can't make a last second shot. You can never give that guy the ball and trust him. Yeah, like you can never give that guy the ball in the end and trust him. Like you can't do it. Embiid, man, I'll give that guy a ball whenever he wants. I trust him to get a bucket. Like I'll take Embiid. Like give me him for the last shot. I think Embiid's I think Embiid's like the most dominating player in the NBA when he wants to be. I think he literally could be the best player in the NBA offensively, anyways. That's how good I think.
He definitely had a strong case for MVP before this. One thing I read about Simmons, and I think this is from like one of his old coaches. It is either ASU or AAU or LSU. They say he's really concerned about how he looks, and he's afraid to look stupid, which is why he doesn't shoot those jumpers, because he'd rather just pass it and not be the guy that misses. He's really like insecure about like going viral with those mess ups and
You,
stuff, like getting
you know
swatted
what's
or
you know what's interesting is you would think like his teammates would encourage him to shoot a little bit more.
yeah,
Just not maybe not like bad, obviously not bad shots, but like when he's wide open. You know
yeah,
what I mean? Like encouraging him, saying like, "Hey, don't be. Look at Giannis.
yeah,
I mean, Giannis is not afraid at all to take jumper. I mean,
right,
he was taking some in the last game. I'm like, whoa, like not expecting him to shoot some of these shots, but I think his team knows that for them to win, he's going to need to eventually hit these shots. So him
yep.
taking them now is going to build his confidence up. Miss or make, it doesn't matter. It's going to build his confidence up. If you're a guy like Ben Simmons, that just clearly shows that his team, in my opinion, doesn't have confidence in him.
And if you take the points against the Bucks and Giannis starts pulling up and hitting those jumpers, you can already just throw your ticket out the window because that's like the final piece for them, right?
Well,
If he makes
yeah.
those jumpers, their offense
If
is going to
Giannis
drop.
is making threes,
Yeah,
yeah, that's
so
it.
when we look at the DFS, we always talk about the totals. 235 seems pretty high here, and also indicates that we might be able to get some of these guys in the lineup here. What are you thinking about this total? Do you think it goes over? It seems a little high to me. I think that because of the kind of rivalry aspect of this game, we will get good effort from both sides, and also kind of a more slow, deliberate pace towards the end of the game, assuming it stays close. And if it doesn't stay close, usually blowouts don't go over either. So I lean the under here, but I don't love it. So do you agree with me that this total is probably too high? And are you going to put any of these guys in your lineup?
Yeah, I think I would go under here with this
Hmm.
game. I do agree with you. Look at the Sixers, even without Embiid. I know it's against San Antonio and New York, but holding those teams to under 100 points, like that, the defense is still pretty solid for this team.
Yeah,
And I think that either way, like you said, the Bucks could end up being a little more deliberate, and same thing with the Sixers on the other end, especially without Embiid running their offense, running their sets. I don't think they want to get into an up and down matchup with the Bucks
right.
because I would favor the Bucks if, for sure without Embiid off the back to back. So I definitely lean under. From a DFS side, I think you can take this you're taking this one of two ways. You're either going to take it like I'm just going to play Giannis, and if the game blows out, the game blows out. He could still give you 55 to 60 and be fine. And if the game stays close, he could do what he's done 3 out of the last 6 games, where he gives you 70 plus.
Right.
So I think either way, it's fine. Ben Simmons and Tobias, I don't love as much at those price tags. But again, if you wanted to stack Sixers, I mean, I think you want to play one of those two guys. I don't love the matchup for Simmons just because the Bucks are going to force teams to shoot threes. That's on his game, but he can get it done in other ways, right? He can get assists and rebounds and have that like triple double stat. He's that type of player, especially without Embiid. So I think you got to look at it in one of two ways. You either think this game stays close, and if it does, you're probably going to like Tobias Harris or Ben Simmons or both. And if it's close, you got to like Giannis.
Two mid-range guys that I had circled that I wanted to ask you about are DiVincenzo and Curry. Do you think those guys have enough upside to make it into a tournament lineup?
I think Seth Curry. I want to just check real quick. His price tag on FanDuel 5,100. Yeah, he's okay. I don't mind him because, like I said, the matchup is going to force into more threes being
Right.
taken. I
Milwaukee
think.
gives up a lot of threes. That was kind of my idea
Yeah,
there.
so I don't mind that. DiVincenzo, I probably don't. I'm probably not going to go there,
Right.
but I just think it's Giannis on FanDuel. You could go Drew just because he's cheap, but I think it's Giannis or pass on the Milwaukee side, and then the Philly side. I mean, it's clearly the two studs if you're playing anyone.
All right. Well, let's jump to a team that has been all over everybody's DFS lineups. lately, but that might change as we look at this injury report. I'm talking about the Toronto Raptors, 17 and 22, 18 and 20 against the spread, heading to Detroit to take on the Pistons, who are 10 and 29, but 19 and 17 against the spread. They know how to cover against those bigger numbers. This game opened at 3. Now I see 4.5. So my guess is that the books or the market are expecting some returns here. So it used to be all red. But now I'm seeing a lot of blue and questionable. So OG Anunoby's still out, but McCaw's now questionable. Van Fleet's questionable. Siakam's questionable. Malachi Flynn is questionable. On the Detroit side, Dennis Smith is questionable. Ellington's doubtful. Diallo has yet to make his debut. Oh, it doesn't look like we're going to get Rodney Magruder either, who had been kind of fun for us the last couple nights. So, gosh, I almost hit this one last night. I should have. I should have known that. I knew Toronto was going to take money, and I want to be on the Toronto side. So I still like them here. It's just rough when you miss the best price. It's like buying the TV for $900 when you saw it on sale for 700 2 days before. But I still like Toronto here. What do you think? Am I just being too square here? I don't know. I know it's square to
No,
fade the Pistons,
it.
but it seems like the best way to get money this year.
I mean, yeah, it seems like with the upgrade to questionable for these guys, and the fact that I think they let them practice yesterday.
Yeah,
I feel like the only thing that would hold them out, because it was health protocols that have been holding them out, would be conditioning. Like if
right.
these guys aren't conditioned enough to play. So I'm assuming though that if the lines move, like the books think that at least one of these guys is going to play, maybe all of them.
Mm.
And with them practicing, I would assume they're all going to play. Now, what their minutes are going to be, I have no idea. But if they're playing, I definitely like Toronto here. If they were out and it was 4.5, maybe it's a little more of a conversation with Detroit, just because, like you said, they've done pretty well covering, but they have a lot of guys that are questionable or doubtful or out already.
Hmm.
So I think it's the Raptors here, and especially if those guys play. I get what you're saying about the price, and yeah, it would have been nice to get them at that 3 number, but I still think you could go there, especially if Van Fleet and Siakam are in.
Now let's just assume they're in. Does that mean that we've jettisoned all these Raptors out of our lineup?
I think it honestly takes out of play all of the stud Raptors. I think it takes out of play Kyle Lowry at the price tag, Norman Powell at the price tag. Not because they're not going to see minutes. I just think you're paying now a ceiling price tag for guys that are priced there mainly because of all the games they've played without Siakam
Exactly.
and Van Fleet. Not
Yeah.
because they can't hit that price tag and do better, like it hit value. It's just you're paying, a premium for them. So and there's so many good spots on this slate. There's so many good plays, so many
Yeah.
good spot ups. I just don't think you need to go here. I think this is a game where if those guys play, I think you just cross off the Toronto side. Maybe there's a Detroit player or two you could look at. DeLon Wright is still cheap. Who knows if Magruder's out? Wayne Ellington continues to be out. Diallo is still out. Maybe you can look to a Josh Jackson whose price is going down, and they're going to need guards, right? Like
Hmm.
they're down a lot of guards. They're going to need guards. So maybe that's it. But if those guys are in, Toronto's defense is much better as well. That's another thing. You get Van Fleet back, Siakam, you know, that's a boost defensively for them.
All right, and everybody watching, if you guys are enjoying solid, actionable gambling content, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. The next game we're going to talk about St. Patrick's Day, and the Celtics are favored. St. Patrick's Day Celtics are 20 and 19, 18 and 21 against the spread. They're laying 8.5 on the road to the Cleveland Cavaliers, who have been an absolute disaster since they benched Andre Drummond. Who would have known he meant so much to this team? They're 14 and 25, 15 and 24 against the spread. They've lost each 3 of their games after the All-Star break by more than 50 points. And the first time they played the Celtics won 141 to 103. It's really hard to take the Cavaliers here, right? I mean, as much as they disappointed us last night, right? Boston's that team. Here's to me Boston right now, right? They can't beat the best teams, but they do their job against these type of teams. So I expect another good performance from Boston, and if you're modeling these the NBA, this one thing that you notice is that Boston, to me, their number comes out like a little better than it should because they beat up on all the teams like these teams, right? And then they do things like they did last night where they covered for 45 minutes of the game and then just couldn't defend Utah or get a bucket to end the game. So that was kind of rough for us because, of course, Mangone and I were both on the Celtics. Do we expect them to bounce back tonight and cover what's a pretty big number?
I just don't know how you can trust the Cavs. Like
Yeah, me
how
too.
can we trust the Cavs? We said it. Was it yesterday? They played against Miami, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
And we said it yesterday, like on the same show. It was like the exact same situation, pretty much. Maybe the number was a little different, but it was high. And we just said, how can we trust the Cavs here? And they end up losing by what, 15 or whatever it was.
Hmm.
So I think it's the Celtics or you pass. Like I think that's the way you go. I just can't trust the Cavs here. Um, I hate taking the big number, but I think if you're going with it, you just take it, or you pass on this game because I have no confidence in the Cavs whatsoever.
The total is low. It's 214, right? But the Cavs, the last three games, 82 points, 98. Even though it's low, I like the under here. I can't trust the Cavaliers to get a lot of points. And I think coming off that tough loss, you will see, Boston be dialed in. I don't see them dilly dallying or messing around at the end of the game. I think that they keep their foot on the gas and keep the defense high. What do you think? Are we going under on this game? And as that such, does that mean that there's not a lot for the lineups going under on a game of 213?
Yeah, Cavs pace is slow anyways. Boston's pace isn't crazy fast either. So I feel like it's an under spot, even though at a low number. But yeah, I think this game, under lean, Celtics lean if I have to take one. Yeah.
All right, and so does that mean with it's a total of 213 and it's not a Thibodeau
It's,
game? Does that mean that we just don't have anyone
it's
in the lineup?
not it's not a DFS game that I love. I will say Daniel Thies is like
Oh
41 or
yeah, he did good for us, right?
4,200.
That was a
Yeah,
Kate
he's
Fowler
41 or
special, right?
4,200 on DraftKings.
Yeah.
And, you know, Tristan Thompson's doubtful to play. So if he's out again, I think you can go back to a guy like these in 25 ish, 30 minutes. Could give you a good fantasy game at that price.
All right, yeah, but there's no way you're going for any of the bigger guys tonight, right? Like no Tatum, no Brown.
Now, Tatum's priced up, and I know Kemba, what is he, doubtful to play or something like that on the back to back.
Yeah.
I don't know if he plays or not. I'm going to assume he doesn't. If he doesn't, I mean, Jaylen Brown, I guess he's just under 8K on DraftKings. But honestly, like, why am I going to mess with this game outside of like a value when we've got so many good games? We've already talked about like two really good games for DFS for sure, and the Nets and the Pacers and Sacramento, Washington, and we have a 10-game slate. Like, I'll take one or two other games to focus on, and then just this is what I do on big slates, and it's worked out for me, at least for DFS. Everyone wants to spread themselves out. They're like, oh, 10 games, so many plays. If you just focus on like 3 or 4 games, I'm telling you right now, like at the end of the year, when you look at your 10-game slates, I really feel like that's the best way to approach it. I really feel like it gives you the best chance to win. Listen, on some slates, you're going to whiff on the games. And when you whiff on the games, you're not going to do good, like the 3 games you focus on. That'll happen. But I think doing it this way gives you a better chance, especially if you're only making a few lineups. Like,
Right.
you have to cut out some games. Even if you're making 150 though, like, yeah, you could open up your player pool a little bit more and you could focus on maybe 1 or 2 more games, but I still think you should cut out games.
All right. I think that's great advice. So let's cut that game out and move on. The Golden State Warriors, 2020, 19, and 21 against the spread, heading to Houston to take on the Rockets, who have not won a game while Christian Wood is out. But he's supposed to be back in, And JSU, I got the inside knowledge. He posted some Dragon Ball Z meme on his Instagram, right? So he's definitely coming back tonight, right? If you see Dragon Ball Z memes on Instagram, it means you're ready to go.
They might
So
need him back to field the team because if Daniel House is questionable, if he's out, and Ben
uh
McLemore, who's questionable, if he's out, they might have only 8 players if Wood suits up. So honestly, he might have to play. They might just like kind of how they forced David Nawaba to play that game, where
yeah,
he was clearly, you know, he was clearly still hurting from the wrist injury. They might need him to play to field the team. That's interesting.
yeah. I mean, nothing good going on with the Rockets. I don't understand how Oladipo thinks he's going to get this huge contract when he can't play more than 40 games in a season. But
Yeah,
that's
he's
neither here
out.
nor
He's out
there.
again. He's
He's out
resting.
again. Wall's out. Kurooks is out. Dante Exum's out. House is questionable. PJ Tucker, he's not even out. He's not even hurt, right? He just doesn't want to play for the team anymore. I mean, it's not going well there in
Yeah, I
Houston right
mean,
now.
I
So
feel like they're going to end up just parting ways.
yeah, I think Tucker can help out a contender too. So interested to see where he goes and if they can at least squeeze the second round
I
exit.
can see him going to the Lakers or the Bucks. Just sit in the corner and shoot threes for LeBron. LeBron
Yeah,
will take it. Give him
yeah, dude.
20
Just
minutes of good defense and sitting in the corner.
yeah,
Like,
tough versatile defender is what you're buying there. So,
yeah.
because Wood is back though, right? Do you think Houston turns it around and covers this 12-point spread, or is it just they're just too thin?
I mean, without Oladipo and Wall, uh, I'm worried. Eric Gordon's, all these guys are all out. I'm worried about them covering this, even the 12-point spread. Like off the back-to-back too. I mean, these guys all just played big minutes last night. They're gonna have no choice but to play big minutes again, right? Like,
Yeah,
who's gonna get a few extra minutes? Like, yeah, Christian Wood's gonna come back. That's great. What's his minutes limit gonna be? Is he only gonna get like 20 minutes? I can't see them pushing him too much. So if that's the case, all these young guys are gonna have to play again. This is a tough spot here to back Houston, even at this number. What I would look at, and I kind of want to look at right now, is some of the props on some of these Houston guys and see if we can get. I'm kind of interested to see guys like Kevin Porter, who's been balling.
he's been pretty good, huh?
He's been hooping, man. He
Yeah,
really good. Even Kenyon Martin, who he had a down game finally last game, but
yeah.
before that, has had some really good games. I'm just kind of wondering what they've got for lines on those guys. And
Porter's
I'm
18
looking.
and a half for points.
I don't even see DraftKings. Okay. I see Kevin Porter. I don't really see any other Houston Rocket on DK for
They don't
points.
have any other on bookmaker either. He's the only
18
one.
and a half, though, for Porter. I mean, I don't mind that. Like, dude's going to chuck. He took 21 shots last game, and that was with Oladipo. Like, I think he's going to take 20 shots for
I'm gonna
sure.
jump in on that right now.
Yeah,
I'm
20.
gonna ignore the side. I'm gonna ignore the total. I'll take over on Kevin Porter.
So I want to make sure, too, did Oladipo sit against Utah? Yes, he did. Okay, so Oladipo sat against Utah, and he took 25 shots. So, like, I think this is a spot where he's going to take 20-plus shots. You're giving me 18 and a half on a guy that I'm pretty damn certain is going to take 20 shots. I'll take my chances the way he's been scoring the basketball. So I think he's interesting here. So yeah, I mean the DFS side though, I think it's all about what value pops up because some of these Houston guys on certain sites are still priced, pretty affordably. So I think it all depends. Martin, they finally priced up on FanDuel. He's 5K, but I still think he's in play. Jayshawn Tate finally had a good game. They're going to need him to play again, big minutes. He could come back and have another decent game, even though who knows? Draymond could end up on him a little bit, but either way, I think it's the Houston guys, the Golden State guys. To me, are very risky because I think blowout is highly likely here.
Yeah, definitely. All right, guys, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. We'll continue to give you winners. I think that's the best one we've given out so far. Kevin Porter Jr. over 18.5 points. I just placed that while we were talking about it. Let's talk about the Spurs, 2016, 2015 against the spread, heading down to Chicago to take on the Bulls. The Bulls got it done for me on Monday night, covering against OKC. The Spurs are coming off a nice little cover. We were both on that. Oh no, that was Hoop and I over Detroit. So we've actually been doing quite well on both teams. Now they face off here tonight, and San Antonio has had the weird injury stuff going on. Aldridge is still out. That's almost a plus for the team. DeRozan is out though, and I think that hurts the team, especially in a close game. Bates Diop, who I don't know, I'll rely on your knowledge for him. He's probably like some min player that you cashed with like a
Yeah,
year ago.
he's a bench. He's a bench. He doesn't really come off
Yeah,
the bench that much.
and Garrett Temple's out for the Bulls, so the Bulls are relatively healthy here. I think this is a tough game. It's basically just pick the winner, and I think that it truly is a coin flip game. Total of 223. You guys know that I hate the totals between 220 and 227. I think those are where the sharpest numbers are because you're getting the teams that are not extreme. I think this is a tough game to handicap from a betting perspective. Gosh, I mean, I guess if you made me lean some way, I would lean the Spurs, but I don't want to go against the Bulls right now. I just think that they can outscore them. I mean, the Spurs can defend better, right? But
Yeah, so it's funny. We're on opposite sides then because I would lean Chicago here the
but
way they've been playing. I
I'm
think
not betting. You can convince you if you say like 3 good points, you can change my mind so easily, right?
I think just the insertion of Sato,
Right.
playing him more, Thad Young in the starting lineup.
Uh huh.
I think it just helped them a little bit, especially defensively. Um, and then without DeRozan for the Spurs, which hurts them big time because he's a scorer, playmaker. Like he does so much for this team, and maybe he's not the player that he was when he was in Toronto, but I think he's a little different in a way where he has to play make more for this team than he had to for that team. For that team, when he was in Toronto, he needed to be a scorer. Like that was just what they needed from him. On this team, he's like a playmaker. He's like the point forward of this team where he's just, distributing, getting assists. I forget what it was. Maybe it was last week or something where we got on the DeMar DeRozan double at plus 325.
Oh
He
yeah.
hit it in the third quarter.
Mm-hmm.
I like that one. He hit that in the third quarter. Like that's the type of player that they're without. Like that's a big loss. And I think the Bulls are playing really well. They're healthy, right? Playing better. I think it's a spot where this is the Bulls game to win. I like them here. I will say one thing for DFS for betting, but they got destroyed by Moses Brown down
Yeah.
low, and
That was fun, huh?
maybe Wendell Carter Jr. not being it with his ultimate size, but he got destroyed when Moses Brown was in there going up against him. Moses
Yeah.
Brown destroyed him too. So I like Jakob Poeltl could have a nice game here. He's not my favorite player to roster in DFS. Coming off a nice game, but Bulls are weak inside, and he could just have one of those games where he just falls into an easy double. It's kind of like what Moses did, right? Like Moses had like 7 and 7 in the first quarter. Like his first stint, he had 7 and 7. Like he was just getting rebounds and putbacks, and it just looked easy to him. Like so, I wouldn't be shocked if a guy like Poeltl ended up having a nice game against the Bulls.
Didn't he leave the game though? Get banged up a little bit. I mean, he came back.
He did, but he came back. But
so
but they had.
I noticed he wasn't on the sheet today. That was actually one of the first things I looked up when I was.
But I think they had that game kind of in hand.
Okay.
Too. So.
Well, like I said, you convinced me. All it takes is a couple good points because I definitely didn't feel strong in that game. I lean Chicago with you now too. Some great points were made, but I thought that was a tough game. I think it's really a true coin flip here. But you did make some good points on Chicago.
Sylvester in the chat goes, Pop had a quote when he said he has to remind guys it's okay to pass the ball to Jakob. Oh man, just so good. No one wants to give Jakob the ball, but he did crush. You're right, Sylvester. He did crush.
Yeah.
I didn't see that comment. to be honest with you. But I mean, that makes me feel a little better about Podol playing tonight. Maybe the guys noticed when they gave him the ball, he did well. So
Yeah, especially if
that's
you
always
go for a
good.
balanced build, right? He could be quite
Yeah.
attractive. Let's check
Yep.
out the Charlotte Hornets, 2018, 21-16 against the spread, heading down to Denver to take on the Nuggets. Denver minus 6.5 here, totals 228. Um, I don't know. I don't know what to do this game. Charlotte's been cashing for me so much, but let's be honest, they got lucky against the Kings.
Let,
Both
let me
games against the Kings.
let me hold on. So Charlotte, they hang around like no other. They are
Yeah.
like they're just annoying.
Uh-huh.
They like it's amazing too. So sometimes in that Kings game, like just recently, they were
Yeah.
down, and all of a sudden, Devontae Graham hits 3 threes in a row. Bam,
Yeah.
bam, bam. They're back in the game. Like they're only down like 3. It just happens where they go on these scoring spurts where it's like all of a sudden they just get hot and they hit threes and they're back in the game. That's what you get with Charlotte. It's, obviously basketball is a game of runs and, that's what happens. But I kind of like them to hang around in this game. Denver to me, yeah, Jokic is pretty good. But the way Charlotte is kind of made, their game is the perimeter, right? It's their guards. Their bigs aren't kind of where their strength is, right? Their guards are their strength. And what does Denver not do well? They don't defend the guards in the wings very well.
Well, they don't
So,
defend anyone very well. They're pretty
well,
weak
that's
inside
true.
too.
I mean, yeah, well, that's true. I mean, but whatever, they do worse against guards, and that's
Right.
what Charlotte's strength is, right? They have 3 guards that can score, that can do like Devontae Graham coming off the bench. That dude is a scorer. That dude can shoot the heck out of the ball, and he's coming off the bench. Like he's
Right.
getting 20-something minutes off the bench. That's always nice to have a guy like him coming off the bench. They also have Malik Monk, plays a little bit. He can score. So I think just the way Charlotte's constructed, I think they have the weapons to hang with the Nuggets, even though what's it, 6.5 right now? Is that
Yeah,
what
six
is
and a half.
6.5? So yeah. The other thing is, I think Jokic crushes if this game stays close. That's the other thing. So I don't know how you feel about Jokic, but I love Jokic as a spend in DFS. I think he crushes if this game stays close.
Yeah, so to your points, the first one about the struggling with the wings, right? Normally these two names don't stand out, but in this matchup, I think it's huge. No Monty Morris and no Gary Harris, right? I mean, wouldn't you feel a little better about Denver if you had those guys out there? I think that's 2 of their better wing defenders they're going to be missing, right?
Yeah, and I mean they still weren't that good with them in, so
Yeah,
it
I
just
think
makes it even better.
Torrey Craig, that they shouldn't have let him go. I mean,
You
they
know what
lost.
also hurts? Like Michael Porter Jr. was playing better at the 4, and
Yeah,
I
and
think
now he's
getting all
back at
these
3.
big bats, bigs back, I think
Yeah.
that just naturally is going to hurt him
Well,
for where he's going to defend.
and it's too bad because he does have the athleticism to be a good wing defender. He just doesn't have it up here yet. And not saying that he won't get it, but he just doesn't have experience. He just gets beat too easily. But I love
That's
that
what
you
I
said
mean.
that because since we've been doing the DFS and stuff, I try and make a lineup. Before we come on, just to try and guess, and that was the first thing I circled was Jokic going against Charlotte, right? I mean, like Bismack, Biyombo, and Zeller, right? I mean, Jokic should just feast here. So
And
he seems to
sometimes,
me.
I mean, I don't think they'll do it, but sometimes they'll go small with PJ. I don't think they'll
Yeah.
do it against Jokic.
I
Probably
don't think
not.
so
So,
either. But I think he's the best spend up on the slate here. If you're only making one lineup tonight, I think he has to be in it. So
yeah, I mean, him, Westbrook, Harden. Man, there's so many good studs on this
yeah,
slate.
this
I
is the
think
total. You need to
the
find the 3
ownership is
bigs.
going to spread too a little bit, but
Yeah,
we got to remember that Sacramento game is going to be so popular. I think
yeah,
it's just going to make the Wizards studs more owned than they would be, which is going to leave someone out. Like Giannis, Harden, Jokic. Like one of those guys is coming in at single digit ownership. Uh, I think so. They can't all be high on.
yeah, yeah. It might be Harden might be sneakily low owned tonight. So That'll
He
be
might
interesting,
be.
but I'm glad that I'm picking up the right spend ups here. Let's talk about the Miami Heat, 22-18, 18-21 against the spread, heading down to Memphis to take on the Grizzlies, 17-19, 19-16 against the spread. Memphis currently favored, Miami was favored. What that says to me is that the market or someone has information and they do not expect Jimmy Butler to
Well,
play.
yeah. Yeah, Jimmy Butler popped up as questionable. Uh, when was
A 3
that?
point line move indicates to me
Yeah.
that they don't expect Jimmy to play. So
Yeah, that was
let's
like
just
30
count the
minutes
game like
ago.
he's out. Let's just count the game
Yeah,
like
that
he's
was
out
30 minutes
overall.
ago.
Yep.
What's the line at right now,
So
spread?
now it's Memphis -1.
Minus
Before
one.
it
So
was
you're pretty much just picking
-2.
the winner. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think I'm gonna pick Memphis here.
All right, let's hear it.
Memphis. First of all, I think it's just more a tell of how much Jimmy Butler affects. Obviously, it affected the spread of the game big time, but it just affects the game in general. He is just such an amazing weapon, and he does so much for this Miami team. And I honestly don't think right now where all the other guys are at, that Jimmy is even bigger than you think. Because I don't think Hero and Dragic, they haven't really looked right to me the last couple weeks or whatever they've played. So they're going to need those guys if they want to make a run for the playoffs. And I think it's a good game where they could step up. But I think Memphis, they're one of those teams that they're kind of weird. Like at times they'll look like they're a really solid team and they'll play better defensively and they'll score and whatever. And then at times, like against OKC, they just give up 128 points to a undermanned OKC team. And it's like, how does that even how does that happen, right? Like, how do you let that happen? So they're just a weird team to me. But I think I'm going to take my chances with Jimmy Butler less Heat if he is out and go with the Memphis side. But I definitely want that news, right?
Yeah, for sure. The news looks like he'll be out, and to some of your points there, I think that Memphis struggles with size. And so Miami being a smaller team, I think the matchup goes quite well for them. They really struggle against, and we talked about it before, the Pelicans, right? When they run out those bigger lineups, and they just, it's just Valanciunas and Clark's kind of undersized if you want to run him as a four. Brooks is okay for a shooting guard, but Morant, Grayson Allen, the guards, the Anthony Melton, like they're smaller guys. So when they can really get bullied on the size, they can get in trouble. Now when they go against these smaller teams, like the lineup I expect Miami to run out tonight, and they can get out there and they can run with the guys and be evenly matched physically on the defensive end. I think they do quite well. So while I don't think that I'm going to bet it, even with the news, if we were doing like a pick and pull, I would be on Memphis as well. So let's jump into the last game of the night. Guys, if you're enjoying it, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. LA Clippers 26-15, 22-19 against the spread, heading down in Dallas. I shouldn't say heading down. They've been there because they played 2 nights ago. 20-18, 17-21 against the spread. We talked about this one in our Discord a lot the night that the game went off because I think it was the solo primetime game. And I said, boy, it was a great situation spot for Dallas. But the reason I did not bet it was because the Clippers match up so well against Dallas, and it's just the ability to basically switch Leonard and George, give Luka different looks defensively, and I just don't think that. I think their bigs are smart enough not to really give up too much to Porzingis here, and that turned out to be right as the Clippers won by 10 points. Now we know in these games they've zigzagged a lot, as the losing team makes the proper adjustments and comes out and gets the win here again. But I'm not loving the zigzag here as much. I kind of think that this is even a better spot for the Clippers being a little more rested, spending the time in Dallas, and I think they can run it back and win it again. What do you think?
Yeah, so I'm kind of in agreement with you that this does feel like a Clippers spot to me, even though I am a big Dallas backer. I do think overall they have one of the best coaches in the league. Does more with less than a lot of coaches. It's amazing the job Carlisle does every season. It feels like I feel like at times during the season he has to coach with the back end of his bench, and he'll win games with the end of his bench sometimes. So I really like him as a coach, and I think Luka is when he's at the top, he's one of the best players in the league. And Porzingis as a combo is really good. So I love this team. The problem is that right now I feel like the chemistry with them from all these guys being out and in and Porzingis being in and out, like I feel like it's just not there. And I want, a few more games of them all playing together as a team. I think they need that. So right now I'm just kind of leaning away from Dallas, and I'll lean with you at the Clippers, where normally in this spot I probably would normally take Dallas here, but I'm not going to do it just because I feel like the chemistry is not there.
All right. Lineup wise, we had so many good spots earlier. This could be a night where I could see Luka not being super heavily owned. What do you think?
Again, right? Like against the Clippers, and last game out, he put up 68 fantasy points against the Clippers. Even in the tougher, you say, matchup where they can switch and do all these things with Kawhi and PG, but still, Luka's a stud. Like he can get it done at any point. I think if you're playing Luka, you're doing it to be different, right? You're doing it for the lower ownership. Now, can Luka go out there and outscore every stud on the slate? Absolutely. Like he could do that. Like at the end of the day, it wouldn't shock me if Luka was the highest scoring stud on the slate. But at the same time, such a big slate, you just got to see, depend if you're going with more of a chalky build and you want a lower owned stud, maybe because you have a lot of chalky mid-tier plays and value plays and you want the lower owned stud, like maybe Luka is the pivot. Like maybe you're stacking Sacramento and you got a bunch of guys in the mid-tier for Sacramento, but you say, well, everyone's going to stack Sacramento with Westbrook or Beal coming back, and you say, I'm going to play Luka. If you play Luka with the Sacramento stack, you are going to immediately be different, right? And Luka is 300 off Westbrook. A little more of a difference. Bradley Beal is 9,300, so 1,400 from Beal. But I'm just saying, if you did that, that's going to make you completely unique, in my opinion, stacking Sacramento, but then bringing it back with a guy like Luka. And all you need is for Luka to just outscore Westbrook. That's like the goal, right? If Luka outscores Westbrook, you're probably going to sit pretty ahead of all those game stacks with Westbrook and the Kings. So I think that's a way you can use, ownership in these studs to your advantage. Whereas, 90% of the people stacking that game will play Westbrook or Beal.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I can't wait to watch the Hardwood Live and the final countdown tonight, because I think tonight is just such a fantastic slate overall with so many options that you have. I was watching you guys last night, and, Kay Fallick was talking about how everything kind of slid into place last night, right? It felt like there was a set way that everybody was going to go about things, and then lock hits and you check your percentages, and that was right. At least in my experience, because a lot of the great plays that I had, like my fires were sitting there with 40%, 50% owned, right? So it's like, okay, cool. I picked Moses Brown, right? But he was 54% owned. So that didn't really help me differentiate myself from the field. But tonight,
but
I think you have so many options.
At that point, you got to look at it and be like, 45% faded this guy who was a
that's
lock.
true.
So,
true. Yeah.
I mean, at that point, you got to look at it the other way and say,
But I'm just saying tonight, I don't think you're going to see very many 40s and 50s, right? I mean, it's just going to
I think spread. I think it's going to be spread somewhat. I think if you do end up seeing a 40 or 50, it'd be in that Kings game. But I think for the most part, ownership is going to be spread. Who do you think will be
the highest owned tonight, if you were to guess? Rashawn Holmes? Highest ownership on the whole slate?
On the whole slate?
I would say Holmes or Satoransky. The Satoransky's been pretty popular too.
I feel like Sato's going to get a ton of love. One thing I'll say about Sato too, he was playing a ton. He even played garbage time until the minute 20 where they took him out. I think it was a minute 20 anyways.
Yeah,
so the game was in hand and he was still running out there. So not only did he start and play meaningful minutes, he played at the end of the game. Like he played until minute 20. So you're getting that out of a guy whose price tag really didn't move. He's 3.8K. It moved $200. That's not terrible, right? Like for a guy who's 3.8K. So I would expect someone like him to be the highest owned player on the slate. Maybe Kevin Porter would be another guy who we could see as the highest owned player on the slate. I don't think we're going to see Holmes be the highest player just because his price tag, right?
Center.
He's not. If he was 5K, yeah, for sure. But normally we see those value plays or the studs at the top be some of the higher owned guys. I think you're going to see the value be some of the higher owned guys, and then like Kevin Porter, just because. I mean, we like the over prop on Kevin Porter for points. Everyone else is going to see no Oladipo, no Wall. Porter has to play because they have no one else. He's going to take tons of shots. So he's going to be popular.
Yeah, and guys, if you're not a member of Run Pure Sports, you are missing out. The final countdown with JSU is Holden back tonight, or who's gonna be your partner tonight?
He should be back tonight.
Okay.
Olden should be back.
All right, and that means that you can get him. He's like he spent so much time in TV. He'll read anything you put in the chat. So that's a lot of fun. I mean, they always talk about teleprompters in politics, and Holden definitely does a good job with that. So if you guys remember of Run Pure Sports, you can enjoy that tricking Holden and getting the winners at the same time. So head on over to runpuresports.com. It's $80 a month for the DFS. But I always say be smart with your money, shop for value, and that's to get both at the same time. $100 a month will get you both, so you'll get access to all the core plays, all the live media that is behind the paywall for Run Pure Sports. And then on the bet side, you're going to get all the plays from our team. You're going to get article write-ups on certain plays. You're going to get access to the Discord where you can ask us in-game how we like our positions. Should we be buying off? Like, for example, if I had the over last night, right? Hey, maybe do we want to try and middle it here? I'm there. And if you at me, I'll always answer really quickly. So you're going to get great access to that. You'll get access to the live shows where the Sports Keg and Coop have been killing it on the NASCAR front. They also go live for the UFC. So it'll be a jam-packed weekend full of content over at Run Pure. Go ahead and get the combination for both. And we have a new promo code, JSU. Do you know what it is? It's named after Big T.
Is it Heater 25?
Heater 25 is going to get you
Yeah.
25% off your first
Sources
month.
sources told me that. I had a
Yeah.
source that told me Heater 25 was the code. So
Yeah, and it couldn't be more appropriately named for what's going on over here. I mean, it's like for me, like it's like I'll win $1,000 in a weekend, and like it doesn't even register on your guys' radar because you guys are shipping so much cash over there. But great job for everything you do. But now that you've heard my spiel, it's what you're really here for. Greg Russo, where are you in the chat? We need you. Your favorite part. The best bet section. There's only two of us today, JSU. It'll be easier for it to get the bullseye. Go 2-0.
So if we disagree on something, then we just have to leave it because me and Mango messed this segment up yesterday because the Knicks were the play.
Game theory. It was unbelievable
God,
that he was saying, "Well, I know if I chose this, that you were going to go to the other side, so mine was going to get." He was like trying to free roll the best bet section. It was unbelievable.
Yeah, that's what he was trying to do. It's unreal. I don't even get a response from him last night either. I don't even get a response. I tweeted at him. I'm going to call him next time. Next time I'm going to call him.
That's how you, what's it called? You become the cash shark king is with that level of competitiveness. So,
yeah.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what, even if I'm opposite of you, I will not disagree with you. So you have the whole board. You have the whole board to choose from, and I'll let whatever.
All right. So I'm going to give out a play and then two props. We've already talked about a ton. The two props, Domantas Sabonis over on points, 19.5. Kevin Porter points over 18.5. I think both those props are really good props to hit. The game I'm going to attack is I like the points with Charlotte here. I like the Hornets. I'm taking them with the points. That's going to be the best bet.
All right, and I can't argue with you there. Boy, So Brooklyn's off the board right now, which is actually kind of surprising me.
They're off the board?
Yeah.
You like them too, right?
Yeah, I was thinking about it. So, okay, we won't use that game then. I'll just let you guys know what I placed. I also placed the under in the Cleveland game. I like the Hornets with you as well. I like the Clippers, but
I mean, take Brooklyn. You like Brooklyn.
You think Brooklyn's a better play than the under there in that
Well,
Boston
no,
Celtics
I'm
game?
just saying. I feel like you want to say Brooklyn. Like you left out. You talked up Brooklyn. Like I just
Yeah,
feel like.
yeah. All right, let's make Brooklyn the official play. I don't want to give out the number and then have it reopen at 5. Do you
Well,
have it
that
up on
yeah,
anything else?
that would be unfortunate. um,
Do you have anything else up? Let me pull up like Bet Online real quick. I'm wondering what news they could have got that pulled it off that would get it to pull off. So
yeah, I
if I
mean
see a -3 on Bet Online, I'll just
I
give it
think
out
we
right
both
now.
like Toronto too. I think we were both
Yeah, the
leaning the
four and a
Toronto
half
side.
isn't the best.
No, yeah, no. I'm just saying we did like Toronto.
Oh, they took it off
Um,
here on Bet Online too. All right, how
huh.
about this? I'm going to give out Brooklyn -3. If it changes, guys, I'll send one to the Run Pure Sports Twitter, and then you guys can get an actionable play. And let's go ahead and answer
Oh,
Tyler's
I
question.
got it. I got why it just got taken off. Kyrie
Uh,
Irving just got ruled out 2 minutes ago.
hmm. All right,
I hope people bet the Pacers. Come on.
my official best bet for today will be the under. Then let's go under 213.5 in the Boston Celtics versus the Cleveland Cavaliers. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. What?
I was I was like, there's no way they just took that off unless some
Well,
news
no, I knew
dropped.
something had happened. They don't
Yeah.
take them off. And with the Nets, right? So there's always the chance. What do you think about that game now? So it'll probably reopen at like what -1?
Yeah. Okay. So you're thinking now do you think the Pacers now become the
Yeah, it
favorite?
just reopened at -1.
Yeah.
Brooklyn Nets
Um
-1. Nets are still the small
oh,
favorite.
Nets -1. Okay. So I mean pretty much pick them. I like the Pacers.
Okay.
One guy that should see a boost, Joe Harris, 4,700 on DraftKings. He's got
I'm
the
gonna go put
3-point
him in a
bonus on
lineup right now.
DraftKings.
Yeah.
$4,700 for Joe Harris. That is nice when you're getting him under 5K, and he's like one of the secondary options. Well, I just want to see what these other Nets guys, what their price tags are. TLC is super cheap at 3,100. He didn't really play that much last game, but I know he was coming off an injury. Bruce Brown will probably get a little boost in minutes. He's 4,800. Landry Shamet has been shooting really well. Was already getting minutes. That's interesting. I definitely think Joe Harris is probably the best play, though. Jeff Green will see minutes. Yeah, that becomes more of an interesting spot, I think, for DFS.
All right. Well, I can't wait to watch the final countdown tonight. And who's on the Hardwood Live show today? Do you know?
Yeah, today it is. I make the schedule spread. Yeah, I know. I know every
Okay.
day.
All right. Cool.
Today it's Hoop, Big T, and Titletown.
Oh,
So,
cool.
yep.
That's a great combination. And boy, yeah, Titletown. Boy, I had visions of Titletown when Pokusevsky was out there, and I said, I got a guy in 50% of my lineups that's skinnier than Titletown. Like, what am I doing?
Yeah, like can you imagine? I mean, outside of the hair though, right? Like Title
Yeah.
has the hair going. He's got the hair going on, but other than that, like Title's probably that size. He's probably just as skinny.
Yeah, yeah. And they had a great show yesterday as none of them wore a hat. And that was the talk of the chat more than even trying to figure out the lineup. So
I mean,
always a
just
lot of fun. And
well,
anyone can watch that show.
the hair on that show. I mean, God, I get pummeled for my beard and my hair sometimes. Like
Yeah.
just you. But man, that was a supercuts extraordinaire show right there. Like they should all had one haircut play of the day for each of them, because
Yeah.
even Mangone's, I couldn't believe Mangone's hair, like in the hairline and everything. He
Yeah.
always wears a hat. I was
mean,
shocked.
I can't say much because my hairline's retreating like the French in World War II here, but it was a lot of fun to watch those guys yesterday. You got anything else before we get out of here?
No, I mean, I think we covered it, broke it down
I'm glad
pretty
it was
good.
just me and you today. We might have gone all the way to the final countdown. We might have
Oh yeah,
overlapped with
it
Hardwood
would have
Live if
been
we would have
long.
we would have
I wouldn't have
started
got
off
this
with that.
playbook up for sure. I'm doing the
Yeah.
playbook, for the site for NBA tonight, and I definitely would have not got the playbook up in time if someone else joined us for this show. Would have went 2.5, 3 hours.
All right.
So
Well, I always appreciate you spending some time with us and helping us out over on the bet side to find the best side totals and props. Guys, if you made it this far, you definitely can make it over to the thumbs up button. Go ahead and like the video, subscribe to the channel, head on over to runpurebets.com, see everything that we have to offer. And if you decide to become a member, Heater25 is going to be the promo code. Thank you, everyone, for joining us, and run pure.